Welcome to the Lady Landlords podcast, where we empower women to gain financial freedom through real estate investing. I'm your host, Becky Nova, founder of Lady Landlords. If you're ready to buy, manage, and grow your real estate investing portfolio, then let's get started. Welcome back to today's episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Today, we are bringing you one of my favorite types of episodes. We are having a member spotlight. We're going to be talking with Shalon all about her journey through real estate investing. She is one of our very own members from Lady Landlords and an Inner Circle member, and she is here today to walk you through what her investing portfolio has been like. So, Shalon, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Becky. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Good. I appreciate you making time. Why don't you just take a second and just introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am from Montana. I was born and raised here. I went away for a few years to my college, met my husband there, dragged him back because I love it so much here. So he was from Oregon, but now he's a Montanan at heart, I guess you could say. We really love outdoors. We love to camp. We try to do that as much as possible in the summer. Love boating at lakes, water skiing. We snow ski too, and we sled. Gotta have something to do in the long winter months here to make it fun. So yeah, that's kind of us. I have 3 kids. My youngest just started kindergarten yesterday, which is bittersweet, but also awesome. It's really exciting to have a little more free time on my hands to be able to work on my hobbies and my projects and all the things. So that's kind of me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the questions I will be asking in a couple minutes is just kind of about kind of how to balance that all. But fill me in. How did real estate become even a blip on your radar?
Yeah. So it's funny because just this past weekend, I started having an epiphany about this. My mom was here at our new house, which I know we'll get to that in a minute, working on some projects. And I realized her and I have been working on things together for years. So in high school, we would pick a room in our house and we would pick a theme, a bedspread or something, and we would renovate that room. We'd do light fixtures and paint. So basically forever, I've been doing that. But it wasn't until the last couple of years I realized it was a thing that real estate investing was something to do. Being a landlord was something to do. So I've always looked at listings and seen houses, watched for potential, and everywhere I've lived, I've picked something up on the house. Now I know it's a thing and now I love it.
What I love too is that when you were doing that with your mom, it sounded like that was probably really great bonding time for the two of you, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Which now is kind of passed on to the next generation. I was just working on one of our rentals, furnishing it this last week. And my daughters were helping me fluff the pillows and put the bed spreads on. And I thought, come full circle. And now I'm doing it with my daughters and my son. And it's really fun to do that work with them.
I think that's really great. We have clearly have so many moms in Lady Landlords, and I think it's great to think about that idea of how do we incorporate kind of that next generation into not only having them see what it is that we're actually doing, but having them really be able to participate and making that time away from social media, away from the televisions to really say hey, this is kind of family time. So I think that's really cool that it started with really something that you saw but then really are saying this is something that I really want to get my own kids involved in. So that's really kind of cute. At what point though did you say, well, this is really cool to redecorate a room, but hey, I can actually make some money off of this?
Right. Which is the best part of it. Right. So 10 years ago, we had just had our first baby and we were living in this teeny little house and we decided we should probably buy a new house. So I looked on the market and I found this house that was cotton candy blue, no joke. And it was a cat lady, like old cat lady house, but it came together with another little house of the lot next to it are being sold together. And I thought, you could buy both and you could have some cash flow from the other house. That's genius. So we bought it, even though some of our family members said, demo that thing, it's broke, don't do it. We bought it anyway. We quickly fixed the small house, rented it out. And then over the next few years, we renovated the big house, the 3 bedroom, 2 bath over there. And we fixed that up for our family, assuming we'd live there forever. And so that's kind of how we became landlords. So
What was that like then having your first set of tenants so close to you, right? Right on that property with you. Did we like that experience? Did we not like that experience? How did that go?
So it depends on the tenant, obviously, but I didn't love it. We shared a backyard and they rarely ever came in the backyard because usually it was just single people or a couple. But I still was like, my ultimate goal is to not share a wall and not share a yard with my tenants. I would like for them to be away.
Mhm.
So that's kind of been the goal ever since then.
Right. So now we have our baby blue house with the second property. How long did you live there?
So we lived there for 10 years, just until last summer. So then I ended up going to real estate investing self-development conference and realized we were stuck. We were too comfortable. We weren't progressing and we should do something different. And that real estate investing is something that I could do as opposed to getting a full-time job once my kids all went to school.
Now,
So
what made you go to that conference? What was the point where you kind of said like because once again, you kind of were the accidental landlord to start because you bought the property that had that second unit already there and you were like, "Okay, cool, I can do this." What made you swap from cool, great little way to make some extra income to, "Hey, I'm going to go to a conference. I'm going to talk to other real estate investors," because that can sound very scary and intimidating and very big versus, well, hey, I just have this tenant here versus I'm going to go meet investors. What swapped you into I'm going to go to this conference?
So I had been feeling restless for a few years, knowing that this stage of life was coming up that I was either going to have to get a real job or I was going to have to do something else, supplement our income. So I liked the idea of that. And then my cousin said, "Hey, I have tickets to this conference. You can go for free. It's such an amazing conference. You've got to go." And I didn't really even know about real estate investing. So I kind of feel like it was, I don't know, it was meant to be or something. So we went and that's when it was like light bulb. This is amazing. We have to do this. This is what I want to do. So
And did your husband Skylar go with you or did you go by yourself?
he did. He did. He went with me, which was great because I know a lot of landlords struggle with their partner not being on the same page. And so ever since day one, I have been dragging him along and he has been like, okay, yes, let's do this. And then I give him the handyman lift and he does it and I love it. And it seems to really work.
On a lot of our member highlights, for those that do have partners, we've kind of noticed a little bit of a trend that there seems to kind of be one partner that maybe had the idea first. And then, like you kind of said, kind of dragged the other one kind of along. So there's usually one partner that could like spearheaded the operation, if you will, and then the other kind of like followed along. And then there's also other couples that one partner might have spearheaded it. And then the other one kind of almost comes in like a little bit of a wrecking ball and is like, no, like this is now going to be like my life too. Where would you say you 2 are? Who do you feel like probably was the one that kind of like spearheaded that? Said like, "No, we're gonna go to this conference. Hey, we gotta really do that." Was that you?
Yes. Yeah, that was me. And looking back too on all the other houses and stuff we've got so far, I feel like I'm the one who's always looking. I'm always the one that's saying, "These are the numbers. This is how we can make this work. Let's do it. We can do it." And then luckily he sees everything and is really supportive. So we do it together, obviously,
Right.
but I'm always kind of the one that says, "Here's this crazy thing. Want to do
If
it together?"
you had mentioned there that he kind of does the handyman type stuff, and I know you also do a lot of work yourself. Can you share a little bit about how you kind of separate responsibilities versus what you do versus what Skylar does?
We do almost all of our work ourselves, all of our
Right.
renovations and everything. So it seems to work out well, I guess. I kind of give him his list of things that either things that are up high, because he's really tall, so he does stuff up high, or like plumbing, it's just my favorite. So sometimes I'm just like, here's your list, sorry, it has plumbing on it. But he just jumps in whenever he phones and whenever he's available with whatever project I'm working on. So we're just kind of flexible. We don't really have like set specific things. I take care of the tenants. I take care of all of the money and the bills and everything, and then he just helps with whatever project.
Now, and once again, I know that clearly you're very handy with all the work that you do, but just so our listeners can also learn and be inspired a little bit here. I know you did say clearly with your mom, you guys would kind of like redesign rooms and things like that. But really, a lot more of the work that you're doing includes more rehab than just fluffing some pillows, right? Like you guys have done a lot more than that. To my recollection, that's not what Skylar does for a living. How did you guys kind of learn these skills to be able to take on some plumbing and to really dive a little bit more into the construction that you guys have done beyond just cosmetic stuff?
Right. So both of us actually grew up building things, houses. Both of our families built homes, built garages, renovated. So we were always around in that sphere anyways. And then YouTube, such a great resource. I know it sounds crazy, but if you can't figure something out, you Google it and you look it up and you just say, okay, I can do this. And you just sort of fake the confidence until you figure it out. And most of the time it works out really well.
Right, that's so the difference of being a person that was born in Montana versus a person that was born in New York City. We didn't really get a lot of building of houses and and things
Oh,
where I grew
yeah.
up. So it is really interesting, and but what I loved is that even though you grew up in that environment, you still said, "Hey, I've learned a lot from YouTube." One of the things that I actually did was I found Home Depot had classes, and they even have classes specifically for women, which is really great. But they do have, like, some classes there. So what I did was I signed my husband up. That was my contribution. I found the class and signed him up. But I agree with you. There's just so many things that we are able to learn. And yeah, it takes some practice and takes some time. But I'm sure as you've kind of gone through, now you've probably done a couple projects a few times that you learned on YouTube and you're like, I don't even have to pull up the video. I can do that. Now I can move on to some bigger and better projects.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. We just finished remodeling, tiling, doing everything with the shower at our duplex. So when we bought this house, the shower upstairs is a gross insert tub
Right.
shower thing. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We can change that. I know what the budget's going to be. I know how long it's going to take. And I know that we can do it and it's going to turn out beautiful.
Right. So now we have not only our own honey-do lists for the groceries, the kids, the living space that we're actually in, but now that honey-do list just got a lot longer because now we're putting plumbing on for Skylar, we're putting other things. How would you say that you two balance that relationship and marriage versus business partnership?
Yeah, that is interesting. And maybe our relationship is unique in that we have very similar interests anyways, and also really similar goals. And so whenever we have a big project like this, I try to plan everything out and get the
Yeah.
supplies that we need for it ahead of time so there's not a lot of stress. And then we both just work on it together. And sometimes if it's an individual project or if one of us is frustrated with what's ever happening, then we're able to separate and go do whatever other things we do. But I guess just the way that our relationship is, we're able to work on things together and just push hard and get it done whenever it needs to be.
Well, I like it for two reasons because one, I feel like you two have really turned real estate investing and rehab and renovations into like your family time. I feel like it's so ingrained, especially because of some of the properties that I know that you've picked up and bought. But I feel like it's just kind of become such a central focus of kind of what you two are doing in your marriage and how you're raising your family that I feel like that actually probably makes tension a little bit lower there. But I like the second thing that you actually just said here, where you said, hey, when I know when we have a project, that, like, I'll go out and make sure to get everything that I have. I feel like I wanna point that out because you made it sound so simple, but it's really something that I think you've realized Skylar values that makes that flow a little bit easier, and that you guys can kinda get in the day and be a little bit more productive if you just do kind of that simple, kind of an act of service here of prepping the space for the actual project you do. So I think that's really cool that you guys like have that balance to make sure that you can get through those projects together and keep that as low stress as you really can. So I think that's awesome.
The other thing I really love about it is I'm we celebrate together. Then when we finish a
Yeah.
room, we go high five. We look at this amazing thing we just did. And I feel like that really brings this culture to feel so accomplished and have done something. And then our kids see it too, or they help us. So
Right.
it's a family thing for sure.
I love that. So we decided to leave Blue House. Why?
First of all, we painted it green.
Okay, Blue House, show notes. Blue House will forever be known now as Greenhouse. Got it.
Yes.
This
Yeah. So when we decided that we needed to change, my husband works for the state, so he was able to transfer over to the capital. So we said, okay, we're moving to Helena. It's an hour away from where we live. And we started looking over there. It was last summer. So August 2022, prices were crazy over here. Everything was going instantly. So we ended up seeing a duplex. And I said, we have to buy this. We are going to house hack. I just learned what house hacking was. We've got to view this. So we bought it. We knew it had some issues. It was next to the highway, next to the train track. It was a little bit noisy, especially for Montana. Really noisy spot.
and we pay extra over here in New York to be closer to the train and to be closer to the highways. So To each their own. Um,
Yes. I couldn't wait to move away. That was our biggest drive. Like, let's get away from the train. So
right.
yeah. So we ended up buying that and then moving in. We did an FHA loan. So we did 3.5% down. And then we kept both of our houses over at Deer Lodge. I turned one of them into our primary home. We turned into a midterm rental, and that has traveling nurses in it now. And that worked out really well. I really, really love that whole tier of the market. I really love it. And then the other one is just the regular long term one. And
Mhm.
then we moved into one side, the crappy side, and then took the other side, really furnished that one as well as the midterm rental. We've had somebody in there for the last year. So then we just started renovating the side we were living in. It was one bedroom, one bath. So we needed to fix that as much as possible. We made an extra bedroom, but the one bathroom was a problem. So about
It's
March, we said, we've got to do something different. This doesn't work for the 5 people in our family. So just kept renovating that, knowing we had to stay for a year with FHA. We knew we had until September, and that's kind of where we were stuck.
And I love that you really said, "Hey, listen, this is the sacrifice that we're gonna have to make for our family for a year," right? We can see kind of like the future benefit of this. We see where this is gonna be able to help us financially. Okay, one bathroom, 5 people, even the bedroom situation and how to making that work. I'm impressed that you guys did. But really kind of saying like, "Hey, this is gonna be a little bit of the adventure that the family's gonna be on for a year." And then once again, you moved in there and then you were able to do that work yourself, which I'm sure saves you a fortune, as you also had the other side that was income producing. Then it was back in somewhere around that time in spring that you had reached out saying that you were looking for a little bit of support from the Lady Landlords program about your own rental portfolio. Do you remember what it was that made you say, like, hey, now it's some time for some outside support?
Yeah, it was about March when I realized we've got what 5 months until we can technically move out of this place. We need a plan. We've got to get out of this place. September 1, we've got to be out.
Right.
So I went to some networking things here in town. I met a new realtor that was really excited, really energetic, understood investing, and she really helped us out a lot. And that was good because those kind of networking things really terrify me. But I pushed myself when I went, kind of saying, you can't sit at the same table, go talk to other people. So I went to one other table, ended up meeting my realtor. So I feel like that was kind of meant to be. But then I started trying to get on Bigger Pockets and all the women's real estate Facebook groups. I hadn't found Lady Landlord yet.
Yeah.
I created my own Montana real estate investors group, which is fun. There's
Yeah.
only about 30 of us, but there's only a million people in Montana. So we're doing pretty good.
I was to say, out of the 60 people in Montana, sorry, Montana, but out of the 60 people there, I mean, that's fantastic. So,
We're doing great. We're loving it. So yeah. So anyway, then someone posted on something about having a rental out of the country. And you commented about how you had one in the Dominican Republic. And I thought, what? That's a thing? You can have a rental on the beach? That's so cool. So I think you commented on it and started messaging back and forth. And my
yeah.
husband lived in the Dominican Republic for a few years doing humanitarian and stuff. And so we thought, how neat would that be to go back down, take our kids, do some service projects, live on the beach? It'd be so cool. So then I realized we were stuck. We either needed to buy a new primary house, which would mean we were done, or stay in the duplex forever and buy an investment property so we could keep scaling. And so then when I found out about your mentorship, that's when I realized I need help. I need someone to hold my hand and say, this is what we can do. You can do this. These are the ways to do it. Let's make a personalized plan.
Right. And I remember you kind of coming to that call too, being like, I don't know where to go next. And I remember you being like, I need another bathroom. We need to get out of this duplex. What was it like then, those first couple months in the mentorship, being able to start to build out that plan together and start to really envision about what that portfolio could look like that we were going to move forward with building you?
I think the biggest turning point was when you said, why can't you do both? Why don't we do both this year? Why don't we buy a primary home and an investment property? And I thought, not even possible. So that is when I realized I'm jumping in 100%. We're doing this. And so then we started to make that plan of looking at the SDR loans, looking at HELOC on our properties in Deer Lodge. They've appreciated. They have so much equity over there that we can tap into
Right.
that, cash out refi, so many different options. Private money lenders, we talked a lot about that too. So many different options that we can utilize if you're stuck with your portfolio to be able to scale and keep going. So that was really exciting. And I remember I cried that night because I was like, we're moving out of the new flag.
Well, that's what I thought was so cool was that I feel like when we started to dig into your situation, you were positioned so well that you really put yourself in a place where you had multiple options. And I think sometimes it just takes maybe an outsider to kind of be able to look at all the pieces and see that like larger picture. I've been in situations like that myself where sometimes I'm just so in it and so involved myself that I feel like I'm being like boxed in. But then you need kind of somebody else to be like, no, the door's actually kind of in front of you. Right. And what I really thought was so cool was that we had multiple options. And that's why I felt so confident to say to you, like, Shalon, we could just do both of these things, right? Like, I didn't feel like you needed to pick between living in the place that you didn't want to live and doing something better financially for your family. I thought it was great that it was just like, no, actually, I think we can kind of do both of these things. And I think that's very realistic. And I do recall you asking me about 9 times, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Uh, no, that's okay because that's once again, that's what I see as my role is to one, I want to show you the thing that you're not thinking about, right? I want to show you what that path of least resistance is. I want to show you the way that we can kind of get it done. And also for you, we ended up kind of creating a little bit of a two-pronged approach of saying, hey, these are the two things that we want, a new primary and a new investment property. And it's okay if one happens before the other. And we kind of talked through what those steps would look like if one came first or the other came first. I know originally the plan was a little bit more towards the investment property because you were planning on staying in your place, oddly enough, until September 1st, the very day that we are recording this episode. But walk me through then what kind of happened like later through that spring as we started identifying properties and started looking for that investment property because there was a rather big shift there that popped up. So fill us in on kind of what that was like starting to look for that investment property and then what happened.
So the realtor that I mentioned that I met at that networking thing, she worked really closely with me about what my goals were, what specifically we were looking for both situations. And she started really hustling. We looked at lots of properties. We put bids on a couple of duplexes and a couple of primary homes. Got outbid because again, the market's still here. It's simmered down a little bit, but it's still things go really quickly. So then she knew that there was going to be this home coming up. It was an agent in her office that was going to be listing this home. It was kind of a distressed property. It was in the school district that I wanted to stay in, that my kids were in. So that's really good. It's in kind of a new up and coming area outside of Helena and East Helena. And she said, go drive by this house, take it with a grain of salt. And so I did, and I knew that it was in a great location. I knew that it was the ugliest house on the block, which means it's hopefully going to have a lot of really great appreciation that once we're done repairing it. And she got us a before market showing, which is really crucial, really crucial. So the night before it went on the market, we walked through. We decided it was a big project, but for the most part, it was going to be cosmetic. A lot of it, all the electrical and plumbing and all that was already done, which is so we just needed to do some fix up, some de-junking, and we can do this. So we submitted an offer that night with an offer letter, which I know is the tip that we got from you. That was the reason that we got the bid because she got a bid that was actually higher than our bid. And she took ours because the offer letter, she loved it. We said, we have kids. We would really love to have a yard. We would really love for
Right.
them to have their own bedroom. We would really love to have 2 bathrooms. And she just really loved it. It was a lady who was an empty nester. Her daughter was moving out. So she took our offer. We got the inspection and said, let's do it. So that's
Right.
kind of where we're at now. We just closed a month ago and moved in a couple of weeks ago. And we just started the renovation process, trying to make this ugly house pretty.
Yes. I love that because I feel like you used your network to be able to find the property, right? As you said, things were competitive and you did. You went out there. Once we talked about, hey, Shalon, you can have all the things that you want, right? You don't have to pick what part of happiness you want. You get to have all of the happiness, right? What I loved is you went out there and you did the work. You went out and you put offers on places, you looked at places, you were emailing me every other day about like, oh, I found this one or what about this one? It was fantastic. I was so excited to see you take the work that we were doing. Nothing makes me happier than when I see people come into the inner circle and say that they want something and do it and actually go out after it. And just to put in the work to get the thing that they really want in their life. That just lights me up personally. So I loved it. And I love that you had all the opportunities and were going out really fighting for them. And I know you kept getting no's and you kept getting the door slammed on you and they weren't the right property. But it was really that networking that was able to bring you that opportunity of a property that you got to see before anybody else. And you did email me about that property and you said, like, hey, I know we were looking for, this was kind of the criteria, but like, I found the house. And I remember you being like, do you think I should bid on it? And I was like, yes, yes, I do. Like, if that's a thing that you've been wanting, why are we delaying the thing that we really want? There's no reason. Does that mean that maybe we have to tweak some other things and kind of pivot the rest of like what our plan was? Absolutely. But we had always built that out for you that kind of whichever happened first was going to be okay. So that it was okay, great. We thought this was going to be priority and this was going to be secondary. All of a sudden, the secondary became the priority and the priority moved to secondary. And that was all okay because we were still going to do both anyways. And it was the right property at the right time. Now, with that, I love that you wrote your letter. What Shalon is talking about here for our listeners is since this was especially her primary, she was able to write a letter to the seller, just sharing a little bit about why she really wanted to be able to buy that property. It's a little bit easier when you're buying a primary than as an investor. For sellers, a lot of us have been there before that when you're selling a home, we want to make sure that we might be a little emotionally attached to that property. For example, I helped my parents back in 2020 sell my childhood home. My childhood home was actually built by my great grandfather. My grandmother lived in the house her entire life. My father lived in the house his entire life. It was never owned by anybody outside of our family. Where it was, there was absolutely the chance that we could have had a flipper or a developer or another investor come in and buy, right? As much as I understood that, we really still kind of wanted somebody that was going to come in, kind of almost like your family, Shalon. It was in a really good school district, but the house needed a lot of work. It really had not been kept up as well as it probably should have been over the years. So we were really hoping that it would have ended up being more of a family, just like yourself, that wanted to come in. They wanted to be in the school district. Maybe they couldn't afford the other properties that were all turnkey and all perfect and all new and nice and everything like that, but really a place where they would be able to get into a good school district for their young family and really restore that place and really be able to have a home of their own. That was so what like my parents had really wanted for their house. And we didn't get a letter or anything like that, but that made such a difference because my parents, they didn't know who would end up buying the house. But it was so nice then when we found out that it was a family. And what's so cute is oddly enough, they are from the town. They moved from the town that I now live in to my childhood home.
Oh,
And the couple, the husband that bought the house, he's cousins with a guy I play softball with every single week. So that was just a weird connection. And the wife used to work with my cousin, who's a real estate attorney. So they used my cousin's firm for their real estate attorney for the closing. So I actually got to meet them because I had the power of attorney to go to the closing. So it was so cool to get to meet them. We're friends on Facebook. And they actually send us pictures of their daughter on like her first day at school in front of the house and how they decorated the house for Halloween. They've invited us to their end of summer barbecue. As it was so difficult, especially after losing my grandmother who had lived in that house for so long, it's just so nice to see a family that took that over and are able to restore that. And yeah, I'm saying this and I feel like I'm even getting like teary eyed, like thinking about it. And that's what you were able to do for that seller. And honestly, that feeling of even how I feel now is worth more than the 10, 20 grand that would have been a difference to sell to a person that would have just tore the home down and built a little McMansion on it. You know what I mean? And that, listen, it's not gonna be like that for everybody. Some other people are just gonna be like, no, I'm gonna take the extra $10,000, do whatever the hell you want with the house. But when it is something that is important to that person, a letter like that can make a huge difference. It's not gonna work if you write a letter saying, "Hey, I'm an investor. I'm gonna rip out all your walls and raise
your
rent."
house is ugly.
Right. "I'm so excited to buy the ugliest house on the prettiest street." That's probably not gonna get you very far. But
Mm.
when we can speak honestly about that, my husband has actually written letters since he's from the Dominican Republic. There's been times that as investors, we've written letters say, and my husband's written the letter in Spanish, depending on if the seller is also Spanish speaking, and said, "Hey, I'm an immigrant from a foreign country. My wife and I are investors. We love being able to provide safe, clean housing in neighborhoods that can really use some support." And that has really hit home also with other people that maybe weren't necessarily looking for an investor, but they feel very comfortable with somebody that wants to put in the work, wants to make a difference, wants to provide a better life, a better future. And that's something that's a very helpful conversation just to be able to have.
That's interesting to know that an offer letter can work as an investor too. I assumed it would just be for people with their primary home. So that's a great example.
Right. It's being able to just be open about what your intentions are and what you're looking for, and also having a great realtor that also knows kind of what that seller is looking for as well, right? I feel like that's still kind of that balance of what we're all looking to do in real estate. And what I hope is the mission really of a lot of our lady landlords is that we are looking to improve properties. Yes. Do we get paid for that? Yes. Does that financially benefit us? Absolutely. But I know out of the 40,000 women in the group that most of them are there because we really want to make sure that we can provide homes for those and keep roofs over people's heads. And I think that's an important thing that's really a great reminder for our industry to share with others. I'm glad that you wrote that letter, that you shared that, and were able to say really what your intentions were with the property. And once again, as you said, you knew, especially since the realtors worked together, that that was the reason that you guys were picked. So now you have a new primary. Now you're back to renovations. So how has that been going now that you've moved into the property and are working on fixing that one up?
So it's good. It's exciting. It's always slower than you hope. You know, you watch this before and after photos or videos, and it's like, oh, in 30 seconds, I have this amazing room. But we have to have a plan and a budget. And also, whenever we have help, we have to kind of work that out too with the projects that are going to be available for people, which is awesome. Both of my parents and Taylor's parents came last weekend for this giant work week. So I'm excited to do a post about that to show people our progress that we made last week. So yeah, that's kind of where we're everything's a mess, everything's dirty, everything has sheetrock dust on it, but it's fine. You know, everyone thinks that we got to be as comfortable as possible, but I've also found that sometimes when you're uncomfortable for a while, you really appreciate and love that. Like moving from the duplex now, when my kids are like, "There's a bathroom downstairs," I'm like, "Yeah, isn't that amazing?" And so now they love that. But being uncomfortable is not always a bad thing. You really can appreciate and change your perspective and really love things that you have, what you have, and remember that those are actually blessings that some people don't.
Right. And I remember the same thing from one of our very first phone calls, that one of the things that I realized about you is that you really like taking something and improving it and really are into a lot of the development and moving forward and kind of almost beautifying things. I feel like you're very good at seeing what is the diamond in the rough, right? I feel like that's a very interesting skill set that I really appreciate about you. And I think that's such a good fit for the idea that you and Skylar are willing to put in the work for some of these places. So
Mhm.
now we have the reno on this one. How long do you think that renovation is going to take you on that property?
So we're giving ourselves 2 years because for tax purposes, it's more beneficial to stay for 2 years. So at
Smart.
least we don't have to pay any capital gains tax when we move, when hopefully we end up making a lot on this house, on this flip. So that's the plan. We're hoping to get most of the inside done this first coming year. So it'll be redoing the kitchen a little bit, redoing the bathroom. We've already laid the floors in the basement and done a lot of painting. So that's come along really well. And I think it's true about seeing the potential of places. My in-laws were here this last weekend and they were like, "What did you get yourself into? Are you sure?" And I was like, "It's done. We're doing this. We already moved in." So it's gonna be great. And I know that it'll work out in the end really well. So the other part of that too is we took this deal and we did present it to some private money lenders and said, "This is what we're doing. These are the comparables in the area. This is how much I know that this can sell for after we do what we're going to do. This is how much it's gonna cost." And so in the end, we actually did get private money letters for the down payment on this house too, because even though it's our primary, it's also part of our real estate investing journey and it's an investment that
Right.
will hopefully pay all of us plus some. So
Right. That's what I think is so important about that. Yes, it's the primary in the sense that you're living there,
mhm,
but it's really, once again, something that fits into what your real estate investing journey is, right? It's not like you moved into just a turnkey property and you wanted to live there and it wasn't. something that fit in with your portfolio. We said, how do we kind of combine these two things? We need a bigger house, we need more space, another bathroom, but where does that fit into what our goals are for financial freedom? So, one of the things, and I'm happy you brought this up because it was one of the things that I absolutely love that you did, that we had talked about in the mentorship, was starting to be able to kind of like build out what that private lender funnel would really look like. And I love that you went and you made a fantastic post that started to get that ball rolling about private lending. Can you share a little bit about not only what made you decide to post that, but the reaction that you got? Because I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by that.
Yeah. So of course, it was a little bit, I felt a little self-conscious putting it out there. But at the same time, I realized, why not show people what I'm doing? Why not show people the work we've been doing and why we have no friends? Because we're busy cleaning and painting and doing construction on Friday nights, right? So we started to record our journey and write down some things that we wanted. And then I think I talked to you about doing the private money lender thing, sending out emails, writing down lists of people that you feel like would be good prospects. And I just thought, I'm just put it out there. Like I like to see
Yeah.
what other people are doing. So I went and I took a picture of my pile of keys in front of my duplex and said, this is what I'm doing. If you want to watch us, follow me and you can see what we're working on. And if anyone's ever interested in getting into the the real estate investing field without all of the craziness of being a landlord, let's talk about it. And I was able to get a few responses back from that. I've also created an Instagram account to start tracking the progress of the new fix and flip that we've got, all the interesting things that we have found so far in the house and the progress we've made. So that'll be really fun. If anybody wants to follow along on that, I'll be on Instagram with our clip for that. And then just working that conversation with the people who did reach out to me about private money lending and building that
Right.
relationship. Some people said, this sounds really awesome. My husband is not on board. Let's slowly visit to talk about it because we want to, but then just the different situations that people are in. And I was really surprised that the ones that did reach out, they weren't the ones that I expected. So just put it out there and what's going to hurt. And then who knows what it'll end up being down the road.
Right. I loved seeing that. Because I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but I can see people being like, "Oh my god, I wrote this out." Like, "Okay, press. Oh, okay, post." Okay, that's really tough to post that, right? Sometimes, like, it can be that way when we put stuff out on the internet about what we're doing or trying to see if other people are gonna be interested. That could be really uncomfortable, and I love that you went for it because I just saw that post. I felt like just kinda go like crazy with, like, some responses, and I love also that you said that it wasn't the people that you expected. I see that so often in private lending that people have these preconceived notions already of, "Oh, no, like, this person's so not gonna be interested. Oh, this person doesn't have the money. Oh, this person's too busy. This person isn't gonna get it. Oh, but this person's gonna be great. This person's totally gonna do it." And it's usually the complete opposite of what those expectations are. So I think it's really important when we're looking for private lenders to go into that really not assuming anything about anybody. And it takes that relationship and getting to know them and presenting the opportunity to multiple people and then kind of letting them tell us if it's a fit for them or what they're interested in or whatnot. So I thought that was really great. And I know that's something that we're going to be kind of working on together is really kind of building that out. So we're not in a place where we're always using our money for that. That's something that since you've been able to do the work and you've done rehabs before and you've bought multiple properties, it positions you so well for private lending because it's very easy to show your experience, right? For finding private lenders, it makes such a difference when you could show the proof in the pudding of what you've already done before. It's going to make that job so much easier to be raising capital. And I think you're primed so well for it. And especially because I feel like you were willing to take that chance to say, let me try, let me just ask, let me see where it goes. And you got rewarded. Also, I know I already follow along with it, but please share your Instagram with our listeners so they can actually follow along also with your fix and flips and to see what you're working on next.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I will for sure because it's exciting. I figured I'm going to highlight the fix and flips, but also kind of go back and do some of the ones that we've already done, and also the ones that we are furnishing. So this weekend, I'm going to finish furnishing the duplex that we were living in that we just moved out of because we have a new tenant that's moving in on Tuesday, so we won't have any vacancies. So that'll be really fun. And doing that with the midterm rental with the traveling professionals has been amazing. I've really liked working with those kind of tenants. So if you're considering that, that's something that's really neat to look into. But yeah, I also have to say that part of that has being confident that came from you, the process, the talking with you, that we can do that. And then just having more courage to go out there and say, yeah, I'm a lady landlord. I'm a female real estate investor. And it's so cool to be able to say that. And this is what I'm doing because I know there's other people out there like me that 2 years ago, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know real estate investing, all these things that I've learned, that it's just the confidence and the empowerment that I get being able to support my family and contribute to our finances and our work ethics and all those things, the experiences that we have.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that because I feel like that's such a big part of what we do. It's not just the education. It's not just how to do the math to run the numbers. It's really that confidence and that feeling on the inside to say, yeah, I know my numbers. I know this is the offer to make. And I think that's what makes us so different at Lady Landlords is because it's not just about the numbers and the rehab and the reno, but it's really making sure that we feel comfortable, that our gut tells us that this is the right decision, that we can do this. And I really see it as that personal development of us looking for the things that are making us happy in our lives or what else do we want to see and really just using real estate investing as the vehicle to get us what those things are. I love when a woman will come to me in the inner circle and be like, "Hey, so I made an offer." And I'm like, "On what? What property? What do you mean you have an accepted offer or you closed?" And they're like, "No, but we've already been through the process. I knew how to do it. I felt confident. I found the right property. I went and made my offer. Becky, I'm closing on Tuesday." And I'm like, fantastic. To me, there's nothing better than that, right? Really
Yes.
being able to see the women that are going out there doing that. And Shalon, that's you. And I love that. And we're going to go by. So now it's September 1, we're filming this episode on, and we're going to go get you your investment property now by the end of the year. So now you're going to have this property that you're having that once again, yes, you're living in it, but it's a flip. And then we're going to get you another investment property, right?
Yep. Actually, I'm looking at a fourplex on Tuesday that just came on the market. I'm really excited. There's two right next to each other. I'm like, oh, I wish I could buy both, but figure it out. So look at that one. I've also been working with the city officials here in town because my lot is actually zoned for 2 residences. So I could potentially put a cute little ADU on the back of my lot and furnish that out and have it for some more traveling professionals. I kind of feel like women are, I don't know, me especially, you talked about providing beautiful homes for people. And that's
Mhm.
why I love the midterm rental strategy because I make these cute little homes for these, most of the time they're young single women that are just come to experience Montana. And anyway, I love it. So I'm trying to figure out how to put that in the backyard, which will also really increase the value of this property. And I think I've always been the last few months, I've also been looking in the Ohio market too, because we talked about how I take on too many projects and I think I can do it all. So maybe I need to do some longer distance investing. So I've been watching the Ohio market. I have a realtor over there who's investor savvy that I've been working with, and we're just getting ready. I'm just kind of getting everything settled here, have a bed for everybody, and then I'm excited to start to look for our next investment property and the next things here in this area and or in Ohio. So
Fantastic. All right. Well, we might have to do part 2 of this interview then, so that we will have you on to also then talk about that next property that you get to. But Shalon, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us today. Please let us know what your Instagram handle is, though, so that way our listeners can follow you.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's Shalon, it's SHALON underscore MT 87. So Montana 87. So it'll be really fun. And I also love seeing what everybody else is doing too with any of their projects or renovations and crazy things that they come across. So,
I know. I love that. I love seeing when people post those pictures. So anybody else listening out there, please go to the Lady Landlords Facebook group and make sure to post your before and after pictures of your rehabs. We love seeing them and they inspire so many women in the group. So we love to see those. Otherwise, thank you very much, Shalon, for being here today. Ladies, thank you for tuning in and listening. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. We release new episodes every single Tuesday. And if you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review so more women will be able to tune in to our member stories. Thank you very much and see you for the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Thank you for listening to the Lady Landlords podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate investing journey, visit lady-landlords.com to book a 15-minute orientation call with me and see if you're ready to join our mentorship program. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and join our Facebook group for exclusive real estate investing tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a lady landlord today.